All right, since it is noon, why don't we get things started in the interest of time? Thanks for joining us today. My name's Jasper with SCORE Maine, joined by Miranda Pelkey of the Eastern Maine Development Corporation for today's webinar on the SBA's Women-Owned Small Business Certification. A great resource that I hope everyone can learn more about today. If you didn't know about SCORE, we're a resource partner of the SBA, helping clients at all stages from the business cycle from pre-start to exit. And I want to thank Maine APEX and Miranda for helping put on today's presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to queue them up in the chat or utilize the raise hand function in the React window as the need arises. And otherwise, Miranda, why don't you take it away?
Great, thank you, Jasper. Hi, everybody. Like Jasper said, my name is Miranda Pelkey. I am the director of the Maine APEX Accelerator Program. We are hosted by Eastern Maine Development Corporation, and we are going to go through a little bit of what we do here at APEX. And what we're really going to be focusing on today is the SBA's Woman-Owned Small Business Certification. So, a little insight into what we're going to be chatting about today. So we're going to talk about what is WOSB and EDWOSB. In the government contracting space, they love to make everything an acronym. So you'll see a lot of things that are narrowed down into just their initials. Who can be a WOSB? Because it's not everybody who thinks that they can. What you need to be ready for it, what the process looks like, and then Maine APEX, how we can step in and help you with this process. So, a little bit about Maine APEX. So we are a program with EMDC, Eastern Maine Development Corporation, with matching funding from the state of Maine's DECD office. We do also have counselors in Northern Maine, Aroostook County. They are a subrecipient at Northern Maine Development Commission, or NMDC. And we also have a counselor down in Machias named Jessica Crowley. She's with SEEC, Sunrise County Economic Council. We are federally funded. We are a DoD program. We are hosted under OSD, the Office of the Secretary of Defense. There is an APEX accelerator in every state except for South Carolina. There are 98 APEX accelerators. So here in Maine, we only have one. We're a statewide organization, but there are also regional ones for larger. Texas has multiple regional ones, which is why you see that there's 98 APEXs and we don't have 98 states. Our clients are Maine businesses who want to do business with either federal, state, or local contracts. And all the services that we offer have no extra charge. This slide says that the services we offer are free, but I don't ever say that because if you are a taxpayer in the US, your tax dollars go to fund our program. And so if you are a tax-paying citizen here in the States, then you are entitled to our assistance. So if you are someone who is considering getting into the government contracting space, or maybe you've never considered getting into the government contracting space, but after today, you think, hey, maybe I should kind of check it out and see what that's all about, give me a call and we can chat about it. So why really do we exist? So like I said before, just in that first slide, we had WOSB and EDWOSB. There's a big alphabet soup when it comes to especially the federal government. And it's really, really complicated. And if you speak to anyone who works in the federal government, they will talk to you like you should know what those acronyms mean. It's very frustrating. It's very difficult to get someone to give you a straight answer, and we help you kind of to translate those acronyms and what they mean, what they stand for. The government registration rules, especially when it comes to the federal rules, they are governed by something called the Federal Acquisition Regulation, or the FAR. They are highly complicated, written all in legalese, and very challenging for people to understand. And oftentimes small business owners just don't have the time to read the FAR in depth. It's very dull reading anyway. But we can kind of do that reading for you and pull out the pieces that apply to your business and what it is that you need to know before you bid on a contract. Government procurement rules, they are very, very different than regular in commercial sector rules. And we can help you understand those, and SBA updates. So the presentation that we're talking about today, WOSB is an SBA certification. And there are often updates that happen, changes that are made to either eligibility or the process. And the SBA doesn't always do the best job at those types of communication and outreach to people. Or maybe they send you out a newsletter, but your spam flags it. We tend to be able to do more outreach so we make sure that nobody's missing those really, really important updates. So big companies like your Bath Iron Works and Chimbro, they have specialized staff for this type of stuff. They have an entire government contracting staff of people, and small companies just don't have that. What they have is us. So we step in for that. And again, there's no charge for any services that we provide. So, Women-Owned Small Business Certification, or the WOSB, is a certification program that's housed under the SBA. Oftentimes people will say, well, I'm a woman and I own my business, therefore I'm a WOSB. And that's not true. When we talk about WOSB, they're talking about a certified woman-owned small business. And we're going to go through a little bit of how you become certified, who's eligible to become certified. The first thing that you need to understand is that there's two separate certifications. There's the woman-owned small business certification, and there's the economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business certification. So WOSB and EDWOSB. They both have different eligibilities, and they both have a different documentation that you have to provide in order to be eligible. EDWOSB is far more challenging and rigorous of a process to get through because it digs into your personal finances. And so oftentimes we will have people come to us and say, I probably would be eligible for EDWOSB, but for now, let me just go for the WOSB, and we might explore EDWOSB later, and that's perfectly okay. So the first thing that we have to understand about this is that not every industry is actually eligible for WOSB certification. So in federal procurement, there's something called a NAICS code. Stands for North American Industry Classification System code. The federal government loves to code everything and put numerical codes on everything. And they've done this for industries within the US. So essentially, every industry that's out there is assigned a NAICS code. And the reason that it's assigned a NAICS code is because that NAICS code is going to determine what the size standard is for that industry in order to qualify a business as a small business. These certifications are small business certifications. Large businesses don't qualify for these. So you'll see that, for example, I work with a number of architectural engineering firms. Because they do two very different things, the architecture side will have its own NAICS code, and the engineering side has the other. Both of them, however, have different size standards on what constitutes small. The engineering side has a much higher threshold for what the federal government will constitute as small versus the architectural side. So the first thing that you want to do when you're thinking about possibly applying for a WOSB certification is to make sure that your NAICS code falls under the eligible NAICS codes that are listed for WOSB certification. I will tell you, they are very vast. Currently, there are 733 NAICS codes that qualify for WOSB certification. It is a very, very unlikely that you will not fall under one of those, but that is the first step. So, here at Maine APEX, we assist with certifications. And oftentimes people will ask us, why would I go through this? What is the benefit of getting this certification? So, socioeconomic program support is available because in the federal sector, 23% of all business that is to be done in the federal sector is to be done with small businesses. That is their goal. Agencies, whether you're looking to do business with DOD, DHHS, DOE, any of the above, they have specific goals that 23% of the contracts that they issue are meant to be issued to small businesses. So they're looking for small businesses, because if they don't hit that goal, there's going to be some accountability there that has to take place. Among that 23% for small businesses, 5% actually are mandated to go to WO. 5% go to small disadvantaged businesses, which tend to be more minority-owned businesses and those people participating in the 8A program. 3% need to go to Hub Zone, which is a historically underutilized business, or a service-disabled owned veteran-owned business, 3% for there too. So these are their goals. They're not firm requirements. If they miss their goal, they need to justify why they missed their goal. Sometimes they just can't hit their goal because there's not enough people who are small that are bidding on the contracts, and it's out of their hands. However, if you're a small business and you're bidding on a contract and they see that your bid comes in, and not only are you a small business, but you're also a certified woman-owned small business or any of these other certifications, that contracting officer can check 2 boxes instead of 1. And that's very important to them. So keeping that in mind, there's definitely incentive in order to become certified as a woman-owned small business, because you are much more likely to be awarded certain contracts than someone who doesn't hold that certification. So there are third-party certifications that you can get. It's not in lieu of the SBA certification. But you can, in order to apply for the SBA WOSB program, if you are a member of any of these programs listed, whether it's WeBank or U.S. Women's Chamber of Commerce, you can take that certification and use that certification to streamline the process for WOSB. And we're going to chat about in a couple slides here what that process looks like and why it might be beneficial to do this. However, I tell people the vast majority of people don't go this route simply because they don't belong to any of these other organizations. If you happen to already belong, this is really beneficial for you because it's going to make the process easier. But if you don't already belong, because there's membership dues that go into this and everything, don't worry about it. We can do it with you on your own. You can get self-certified without any of these. This is just an option. Okay. Okay, so the benefits of WOSB and EDWOSB, we already went over most of them. There are set-aside contracts where the federal government limits the competition to only those with WOSB or EDWOSB. So beyond just a contracting officer putting out a regular small business set-aside and noticing, hey, this person's also a WOSB. That's killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm going to go ahead and bring them in. They can actually say they're really struggling and they're like, man, the end of the fiscal year is coming up and I haven't hit my WOSB goal yet. They will put out what's called a set-aside contract where only WOSBs or EDWOSBs are eligible to bid on it. Now, I will tell you, because people ask me this often, I have never seen a set-aside contract be put out for just EDWOSB. So if you're someone who is uncomfortable uploading a lot of the personal information financially that they're going to be asking you in order to become EDWOSB certified, don't stress too much, because the set-asides that have gone out historically include WOSB and EDWOSB. So you're not going to be not eligible for these set-asides just because you didn't go for the ED. There's also a type of contract in the federal space called a sole source contract. That's when the federal government can award directly to just one business. They don't have to get multiple bids like in other contracts. That happens if they don't have a reasonable expectation that 2 or more qualified businesses are going to be submitting offers. So then they determine that the qualified business is responsible and determine that the contract can be awarded at a fair price. So sole source contracts, often they will try to do a sole source to a WOSB. And if you are someone who has more of a niche business, which most people here in Maine have, it may be that you're really not going to be eligible to bid on a prime contract, but you may just be perfect for a subcontractor. So if you're a subcontractor, the prime contract is going to hold the contract with the government. And then you're going to come in and provide a little piece of what that contract is. And oftentimes, prime contractors are really, really keen to work with WOSBs and any of the certifies because they can write that into their subcontracting plan and let the contracting officer know, look, I'm not a WOSB, but I'm going to be working with a WOSB as a subcontractor. And that works towards that 5% goal as well. So this is also a federal certification. So if you're someone who says, I don't really have any desire to work with the federal government, I kind of might want to work with the state government, you still would want to really consider this certification. And the reason for that is because while they don't have the same goals and metrics the way that the federal government does, the state and local municipalities really do attempt to um, seek out WOSBs, hub zone businesses, because the money that comes into the state is usually leveraged with federal money. So when they submit their finance reports to the federal government, well, they don't have the goals, the federal people that they're reporting to do. So the feds like to see it, and the state likes to keep the feds happy. So this is a win-win for them as well. So even if you have no desire to do anything with the feds, this is still really this is a good look for them, and so it's still going to give you a leg up on the competition. Okay, so you might be thinking, am I eligible? Okay, what are the requirements? So you have to be a small business based on your NAICS code. Chances are, if you never worked in the federal government before or received a grant or anything, you probably don't know what your NAICS code is, and that's okay. At Apex, we can certainly help you find it. It's literally just a search on a website. It's very quick. You have to be 51% old and controlled by women who are U.S. citizens. Unfortunately, at this time, permanent residency is not a qualifier. You have to be a citizen in order to be eligible for this. And again, 51% owned and controlled. So if you're maybe a husband and wife team and you're 50-50, it's beneficial to put 51% ownership in the wife's name. And also, beyond the ownership piece, the woman has to manage the day-to-day operations and make long-term decisions. This is a regulation that went in because there was a lot of people, especially husband and wife teams, where the man might own a business and say, hey, I'm just going to put everything in my wife's name. I'm going to get WOSB certification, but she really doesn't have anything to do with this business. So they're going to ask you to demonstrate that you are involved in the day-to-day operations and that you make long-term decisions for the business that you're applying for. So if you look at that and you say, yes, I am eligible, where do you go? Well, the SBA recently updated their system. It used to be if you wanted to apply for veteran-owned small business, woman-owned small business, they all had their own websites. They've recently merged them. And so their new website is certifications.sba.gov. And you're going to go there and you're going to click Get Started. And you're going to start answering questions about your business and uploading documents to verify that the information you're reporting is accurate. And we're going to go through what those documents are so that if you have questions about them, I can answer it at the end. So your documents needed, regardless of your structure of your business, because it does matter if you're an LLC, if you're an S Corp, but regardless, you're going to have an active registration in SAM.gov. SAM.gov is a website that anybody who wants to do business with the feds in any way, even if they just want to apply for financial assistance, if they want to apply for grants, if they want to do government contracting, you have to be registered in SAM.gov. I will not lie to you. It is not user-friendly. A lot of people struggle with it. And if you're somebody who struggled with it, let us know. Our counselors will literally hold your hand and take you through screen by screen. So you have to have an active registration in there. That's the first step. The reason that you have to be active in there is because the SBA websites communicate with SAM. So when you first log into the certifications website, you're going to put in a code that they ask you for, that they issue to you in SAM.gov. And then it's going to pull a lot of the information in SAM over. So if you have an active registration in SAM.gov, and maybe you said, yeah, I did that like 10 years ago, but you haven't updated it, you want to make sure that you go in and you update it before you start your WOSB certification, because there's not a ton of places to change your core information on the SBA side. It has to be done on the SAM side. So then, after you're all set in SAM and you go in there, the first documentation they're going to ask you for is proof of U.S. citizenship. So this can be a birth certificate, naturalization papers, or a non-expired passport. You have to make sure that it's not expired. And what I will say is if you're uploading a birth certificate, but you say your birth certificate has your maiden name on it, you're going to also need to upload your marriage certificate, or if you've just changed your name, you need to upload the court-issued paperwork that has changed your name. Just because they're not going to be able to prove that that's actually your birth certificate. So that's the first round of documentation you upload. The second one that everyone has to do is upload a resume. Oftentimes this is a struggle for people because if they're a business owner, maybe they've been an entrepreneur for a long time, they've worked for themselves, they don't have an up-to-date resume. So you'll want to sit down and put one together. We can help you with that at Apex if you're struggling with it. And really what they're wanting to see on your resume, they're wanting to see, for example, if you are an architect, we'll just use that example, we'll keep that going. If you're an architect, they're going to want to see what qualifies you as an architect. So you're going to want to put your education in there. If you maybe you own a mill, maybe you don't have a college education, but maybe you worked your way up in the company, they're going to want to see that. Something that demonstrates that you're qualified to do what it is that you do and run this company that you're running. And then they're going to want to see you put on there your current position at the business, and they're going to want you to outline in there your day-to-day activities there. They want to see that you are not only the owner, but you are also the highest ranking operating manager in the company. It used to be, before they switched to this new website a few months ago, that you could have an external resume and you could just upload it and it was easy. Don't ask me why, but on the new website, they don't allow you to upload the resume. You have to write it in individually into the application. It's a big pain, but what I always tell people to do ahead of time is write the resume externally, and then you can just copy the information into the slots that they give you. It's much easier than when you're in there, especially if you're working with an Apex counselor, when you're in there trying to say, okay, what date did I work there and what should I put here? It's easier if you already have it down there, but you will have to go in and individually build it into the application. It's not my favorite part of this new application, but it's okay. If you are involved in any joint venture agreements, you're going to need to upload that documentation. And you'll have to upload an organizational agreement if that's the case as well. So this is just the start. This is kind of boilerplate for everybody. Now, like I mentioned before, depending on what your organization structure is, there are specific documentation they're going to ask for. If you're a sole proprietor and you work under a DBA, a doing business as, or a trade name, you're going to need to upload your DBA trade certificate. That's tricky for some people because a shocking number of people work under a DBA, but they never actually register it. It's actually a really easy process to get it registered and to get that certificate. So if you're somebody who hasn't done that yet, don't stress. Work with us at Apex. We'll walk you through that process. So yes, if you're a sole proprietor, DBA is the next most common documentation that they ask for. If you are in a partnership, any partnership agreements or amendments to those agreements also have to be uploaded. When it comes to corporations and LLCs, you're going to need to upload your articles of incorporation. In the state of Maine, they don't call them articles of incorporation. They call it your certificate of formation. It's the document that you would have received from the Secretary of State when you registered your business with it. Again, if that's not something that you have, you can call the Secretary of State. They will send you a copy. So you need to upload those, whether it's for a corporation or an LLC. However, for a corporation, you're also going to need to upload any stock certificates that you have, the front and back of them. You're going to also need to upload your stock ledger and any corporate bylaws or amendments that may be applicable to your business. For LLCs, which is by far the most common business structure in the state of Maine, beyond your certificate of formation or articles of incorporation, you're going to need to upload an operating agreement. Again, many businesses function without ever having an operating agreement. Good news is there's a ton of free templates online that you can go on and you can get one made up within 20 minutes. So just be aware that that's something that you're going to want to do prior to certification because they are going to ask for it. And they won't allow the application to be submitted until every document has been uploaded. Okay, so that was for the WOSB certification. The EDWOSB certification, the Economically Disadvantaged Woman-Owned Small Business certification, it's a subset of the WOSB. So if you're an EDWOSB, you are automatically a WOSB, but not vice versa. So in order to qualify for an EDWOSB, you need to meet all the requirements of the WOSB program. But remember how we talked about how the WOSB program has 733 NAICS codes? EDWOSB is only eligible to 110. So then the kinds of industries are much more stringent. And WOSBs whose owner claims economic disadvantage. So that is, and we're going to talk about how you'll provide verification of that. But this one is much more stringent. You have to upload a lot more documentation. So consider all the documentation we've talked about up until this point, and then there's extra for EDWOSB. So to be considered economically disadvantaged, you have to meet all the requirements of the WOSB contracting program by being owned and controlled by one or more women. Question that I get a lot, actually, that I'll mention is, what if I own a business with my business partner? We're both women, but we both own 50% of it. You still qualify. It's just that you each have to apply separately because together you'll make up 51%, over 51%. So, but for EDWSB, the owner of the business has to have a personal net worth less than $750,000. And notice how I said personal net worth, not business. Each of the women owners have to have $350,000 or less in adjusted gross income averaged over the previous 3 years. And each female owner has to have $6 million or less in personal assets. So keep this in mind. This is the vast majority of women-owned small business in the state of Maine qualify for this. The problem is we don't have a ton of women who want to go through with this certification because it has to do with their personal net worth. They're going to ask you to upload everything that you can about your personal assets, personal stocks, all of that. And we're going to get into that. So, once you upload everything, and everything is in there. Oh, and also, if you're a woman-owned small business and you're applying for the EDWOSB, even if your husband's not on your application, you have to upload his personal information as well. So oftentimes people will say, I feel like you are trying to discourage me from applying for EDWSB, and that's not the case. I 100% think that if you qualify, you should apply. But I just know from experience with my clients, I have about 250 clients in my territory, and the vast majority of them find it invasive and they don't find it worth it for the ROI for it. So I just want you to know that if you are not comfortable doing it, go with the WOSB. Okay, so now you've got everything uploaded and submitted. So now what's going to happen? When you go on to apply, you're going to have made yourself an account on the certifications.sba.gov website, and you can log in there as often as you want to check your status. For a while, it's going to say submitted, and then it might say in process or under review. Um, Typically, they email you and say, this is a change in the status of your application. But honestly, I don't know if it's because of firewalls or spam filters that people have. A lot of times people miss the email. So I always tell people, if you haven't heard anything in a while, go ahead and log in and check that status, because it's definitely not indicative that it's not moving along because you haven't heard. It might just be your spam filters. If they need more information, they should let you know via email. And it's very, very common that they will ask you for more information. People tend to get nervous when an email comes through and they ask for more information, but I tell them, no, that's actually a really good thing, because it's leaning towards them wanting to certify you and just wanting to make sure that they dot all their I's and cross all their T's. Now, should something go wrong, you may be asked to withdraw and reapply rather than deny you for more documentation needed. This tends to happen when people try to do it on their own and maybe they upload the wrong documentation or they answer incorrectly to a question. And it's actually a nice thing that they do, that they ask you to withdraw and reapply, because if they deny you, then you have to wait a period of time before you can reapply. And if you withdraw, you can just resubmit again right away. If you work with Maine APEX, we'll make sure that nothing's done wrong. So we're in this website a lot, and so we've seen a lot of the issues that have come about. So and then if you're approved, they're going to notify you of that too, in theory. Like I said, oftentimes those emails, someone will call me and say, geez, it's been a few months and I haven't heard anything. And I'll say, well, go in and check your spam folder. Nope, nothing there. And I'll say, okay, well, let's just hop in and we're going to log into the system and see. And sure enough, it says approved. The email just didn't come through. So make sure that if you don't hear from them, that you go in. Typically, they have about 90 days to complete the approval process or denial process. They have 90 days to get back to you. So how can we help you with the WOSB certification? So we can help you understand the rules and process. I certainly don't expect anyone on this webinar right now, to remember everything that I say and all the documents that you need. So we can help you understand that process. We can help you collect the data for the application and walk you through that. So for many people, they'll say, I don't know how to go about this operating agreement. I'm not sure about the resume piece. I don't know if I have a DBA trade certificate. We're going to help you with that. We're going to help you locate it. If you don't have it, we're going to point you in the right direction of where to get it. We will walk you through the online application screen by screen. So prior to COVID, we would travel right to you and sit down in person and go through with you. And we can still do that. The vast majority of people now, though, like to do things virtually. And so that's okay too. We can do it virtually. You can share your screen. We can show you where to click, what to upload. We can certainly do that. Whatever you prefer. You can come to our office. We can come to you, whichever works best for you. We'll help you collect your supporting documents. Once you're approved, we'll help you find contracting opportunities that are WOSB set-asides or prime contracts that would benefit from WOSB subcontractors. And then if you do identify a contract that you're interested in, we're going to help you bid on the solicitations and then manage them later. So especially if it's a federal contract. State and local are much more simple, but federal contracts can be super tricky to bid on. They have a very strict set of rules, so we can help you go through the solicitation, understand it, understand what they're asking you for, and then managing them later, making sure that you're performing the best way you can on the contract. So like I said before, we have a pretty good sized team here in Maine. We are broken up based on territory. So you will see, based on where you are geographically, you'll see Morgan Rochelow, who has the green circle around him. He's our York and Cumberland counselor. And then we have everyone all the way up until Aroostook County, Washington County. All of these counties are very different economically from each other. And so we find that it's very valuable to have people with specific expertise in that area to really help you to understand the economic development in your area and really how your business can thrive the most in it. So if you're unclear, and you're going to get a copy of these slides, I've sent them to SCORE and they're going to send you out these slides afterward. So you'll be able to see this. These email addresses go directly to us, and the phone numbers are our work cells. So feel free after this, if you are not already working with an Apex counselor and you want to, you can find the one in your area and reach out. If you accidentally reach out to the wrong one, they're going to ask you where you're located and they'll make sure to point you in the right direction. Okay, so now that we've gone through that, let me stop sharing so that we can see if anybody has any questions at all that we can answer.
Yeah, we had a good one come in from Ashel to start things off. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I think my industry requires me to be an EDWOSB, other personal care services, and I am hoping to get a contract with the city of Portland. Would the EDWOSB be a good idea to give me an edge over other businesses attempting to bid for the same project? And where would I go to to ask Maine Apex for help with this?
Sure. So, um, yes. So even though you're looking for a city contract, like I said before, a lot of the dollars that come in that go to state and local municipalities, they're leveraged by federal dollars. So they have to report back financially all of the feds always ask, are they WSB? Are they hub zone? How many people did you work with here, here, and here? So it's beneficial for them if you are an EDWSB. So 100%, I think that that would be beneficial for you. Um, and what you're going to do is, so where are you going to go to ask Maine Apex for help with this? So if you're in Portland, you're going to be paired up with Morgan. He's our deputy director. And when you get these slides afterward, you're going to see his email address and his phone number right there. Shoot him a message, let him know, hey, set in on this SCORE thing. Miranda said I should reach out to you, and he's going to walk you through it.
Okay, great. Can I just ask one other question for this? If it's not a contract in the same sense as like they're gonna give me money, I'm kind of like looking to lease their space. Is it still useful? Do you know what I mean? Yes? Okay, cool.
Sure. So it's not useful in the way that there's no actual goals that they have to hit. But what we have found, and the data continually shows us, is that even in the private sector, if we weren't even talking about government contracting, if you put on there that you're SBA certified as a woman-owned small business, you are far more likely to be considered, because regardless of the industry, they have all types of finance reports, whether it goes to their board or whatnot, and they like to be able to say, nope, we've worked with this business, we've helped with this business, we leased to this business. So yes, it's all beneficial, and you can leverage it in a bunch of different ways.
And then my final add-on question, I'm so sorry, is
No,
how long could I reasonably like would it take the full 90 days or would is the turnaround a little bit faster usually?
so it's a good question. It typically, I tell people to expect the full 90 days. And the reason that I say that now, there's been times in the past where it went a little bit faster. But I don't know how many of you have been paying attention to what's happening in DC, but the SBA has been slashed. And what's happened is the people that review this, their team has been cut to like half. So there's a bunch of people that are going through this now. So until the changes in DC calm down, I tell people anticipate the 90 days.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, that's really
You're
disappointing, but
welcome.
thank you so much. That was really helpful.
Well, and you can also feel free to also chat with Morgan about if there's something that you're looking to do right now, you can indicate somewhere that you have an application in process for WOSB certification. And oftentimes people will respect that. So you can also leverage that and say, we are a woman-owned small business. Our application for WOSB certification is pending.
Heck yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Next to Marcy, you got your hand up.
Hi, thank you.
Hi.
This is so helpful. So
Good.
I own a corporate wellness consulting business here in Maine, but I've worked a great deal in Massachusetts with public sector clients, which is I've never been a woman owned small business certified business, but I check all the boxes. I've done everything on the list of things to do, including I applied for an MTI grant. I think Jasper, you one of the webinars that you put together, I applied to, as anybody who's done that before, it took forever. And I was approved for an MTI funding, but they started me with Merck. So that's great. I don't know if there's a fee associated with this and if I can use Merck funding. Okay, there's no fee associated with this.
No fee.
Wow.
Nope.
Okay. I need to get on this like yesterday because I know most of my business in Massachusetts is working with government sector, like school districts, towns, municipalities, not like the state of Maine, but I would love to start working with specific municipalities on what I do, which is really helpful and powerful. So I do believe that a long time ago, I sent an email to Morgan and because I'm in Yarmouth and I never heard.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it just got lost in the email, but I want to literally bring myself to your offices and sit down and make sure, because this could be life changing for my business, especially if you can help me apply, like find these, answer RFPs. I've answered many. I know I'm really set up for this for success.
Good. So this is what I want you to do. Reach out to Morgan again and copy me on the email.
Okay.
So that way I will make sure that he sees, and my email is listed there too on that team slide that you're going to be getting.
Okay.
Reach out and make sure that you copy me. And if he doesn't answer, because I'm thinking Yarmouth,
We're in Cumberland.
it might be
Am I in,
Cumberland should,
aren't I in Cumberland County?
I
What
don't
is,
know.
yeah.
Yarmouth is still in
You
Cumberland.
are Cumberland County.
Yeah, you should still be in his territory. So if you copy, I'll tell you if you copy me, he's going to answer because I'm his boss. So,
Get him in trouble.
go.
Nothing. I'll look for it because now I know that I have and I can find my sent emails. So I don't want to get anyone in trouble. And it, like you said, it
No,
could
no, no.
come back to me in spam. Who knows? But this is
Yeah, and that's the
exciting
thing. And match it up with the email address too to make sure. His last name is Rochelo, and it's not a common last name, and it's
Okay.
really easy to mess up the letters. He's
Excellent.
worked for me for 5 years, and I still do it. So maybe
Okay.
that could have been it as
That's
well. But
possible.
like I
Very
said, if
possible.
you have him and me, then one of us is bound to see it, and I'll make sure to follow up with him after and just say, hey, make sure that you respond to her because she's been trying to reach you.
Oh, that's great. You guys, everything you guys do, by the way, is so good. And this was so good. So thank you, Miranda.
Oh, no problem. Happy to.
Great. We have a few from, I believe, Corianne. Please repeat the website to apply. Is that sam.gov?
Okay, so you have to be in sam.gov first, but the actual registration is certifications.sba.gov. And when you get these slides, you're going to see that right on there. So don't stress about writing it down because you're going to get it in your email.
And I'll be sending out the slides and recording as soon as Zoom makes the recording available to me and I get it posted to our YouTube channel, which should hopefully be later today. Another one, if someone will never engage with their municipality, why would they want to get certified?
If they're never going to engage with it, well, I mean, you certainly don't need to. If you're not ever considering doing anything in the federal, state, or municipal sector, it may not be beneficial for you. But I will tell you this. In the past, what we've seen is if you want to apply, oftentimes there's even like funding, like grants that come out, and it may come out just for WOSBs. And so sometimes it's not so much with doing the government contracting stuff. Sometimes it's to make you stand out more when it comes to that type of financial assistance, especially the grants, which are the free stuff that you don't have to pay back. So that's the great stuff. And what I tell people is, even if you don't see a need in your mind right now, because this is a process and there's a little bit of a waiting time for it, I recommend to people, especially if you're just going to go for the WOSB and you're not going to have to upload any of your personal financial stuff. It's a free certification. You might as well get it and have it in case something ever comes about and you need it, versus needing it and not having it and maybe missing a really great opportunity that arises because you are waiting on them to process it. That's the best answer I have for that.
Yeah, got your hand up. Why don't you go ahead?
Thank you. I'm an employee benefit specialist, and municipalities and government is a totally different sector that I'm not working in. So I'm trying to figure out, like, what else is this going to do for me? So I'm understanding that there's some access to some grants potentially, but is that just not a good fit for me in my industry? And the next question I asked was, how do I know if my NAICS code qualifies?
Sure. So I will also send out with the slides, I'll send Jasper a list of the WOSB NAICS codes that qualify. I'm also going to send a link to a website where you can go to find what your NAICS code is. It's a super easy one. You literally just put in what you do for a living and it's going to tell you what your NAICS code is. So I'll send that along. I really think that beyond the financial aspects of it, there are a lot of people who don't work in the government contracting space, but they still market the SBA certification for WOSB. Like I said before, many people who are not only prime contractors, but they're subcontractors, that is valuable for them, but also in the commercial space. Anyone who even receives a grant for their private business, if they have to report back on their metrics and they say, yep, I'm working with this person who's a WOSB, we've seen a lot. It has a lot of tentacles places where people find it valuable. So I think that it really depends on the way that you market it after you get it, if you're not planning on going into the contracting space.
Does that clarify it
Thank
for
you.
you? All right. One from Deirdre. On the SAM.gov registration, it asks if a business qualifies as a small business or woman-owned business. Can we only check these boxes if we've been approved through the SBA process?
That's a really good question. So technically, yes. If it asks you if you're a woman-owned business, you should have your certification ahead of time. However, I will tell you, it doesn't specify certified. So there's a lot of people who check it anyway. I will tell you that many people will say, well, I checked that and now I'm a woman-owned certified small business, and they're going to verify it either way. My best advice, just to keep everybody honest, wait until your certification comes through and then go in and check that. But if it's a situation where someone's checked it accidentally, you're not going to be penalized or get in trouble for doing so.
Great. And another one, if you get EDWOSB, do you have to reapply on a regular basis to make sure the economic info is still accurate?
Yes, you do. And actually, you need to, it's not really a reapply, it's a renewal, they call it. It's much easier. So you even have to do that for WOSB. Every few years, they're going to ask you to go in. I believe it's 3 years now. You're going to go in and you're just going to recertify. And with EDWOSB, it's a lot of paperwork every time. With WOSB, it's not, because they can keep, once they have your certificate of formation, they have it. It's not going to change, but the personal stuff does. So that's a really good question. And yes, that's 100% what you need to do.
Yeah, important info to have. Ashel with another one. Should I log in with a personal account to sam.gov or create a new one?
So what I recommend doing, so the way that sam.gov works is that you create a login.gov account first. And that's going to be connected to your email address. So I don't know if that's what you're referring to, if you need a separate email address to do that. It doesn't matter, the email address that you use. Because then what happens is once you have your login.gov account, you're going to go into sam.gov, and then you're going to build your entity, which is your business. And you can actually have multiple entities linked to that one login.gov. So that doesn't matter. You can set it up however you want to. I do tell people just make sure that whatever account that you use to create it, it's an account that you're going to have long term. Because if you suddenly lose access to that account, it's a bit of an act of Congress to get you assigned to that entity. So it's possible, we can certainly do it. It's just a pain in the butt. But yes, so I recommend most people, if they own their own business, they might have an email address that they associate with their business. I say, might as well use the business address. But if it makes more sense to you because you use your personal one for everything, there's no rule that says that you can't.
So maybe keep it under one if I have one already, and then just make
I
another.
would, just to make it easier for yourself, especially if, because once you do it, it's kind of, that is what it is for years and years to come. So
Okay.
whatever is going to be easiest for you to remember and to maintain access to. On the federal side, they don't care what email address it is.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And we have one from Sharonda. Who can I contact to make sure that I've registered my business correctly?
Sure. Do you mean who can you contact to make sure that it's registered with the state or with sam.gov?
If you want to come off of mute, you can clarify, or you can put it in the chat.
The state.
Wait. Yep.
Did it go
So
through?
all you have to do is yes. So you're going to give the Secretary of State a call. So you can go on there, and then you can go to the Secretary of State's website, and you can do a search for your own business, and it will pop up if they have it. And if they don't have it, you certainly want to call and say, this didn't come up in the search, but you give them a call. They're actually super easy to get through to and to work with. Just give them a call and say, I just want to make sure that my documents are correct and that I'm all registered with you folks.
Great. And we have one asked Dionshka. I hope I didn't mess that one up either. I think I apply for EDWSB, WOSB, and the Hub Zone. Can I apply to them all?
Yeah, absolutely. You can apply to any and all of them. 100%. There's no limit. We have some people, and honestly, that makes you much more valuable because you're like a unicorn to them because they can check off so many boxes. So yeah, if you think you're eligible for all of them, apply to them all, and we can help you with all of them as well if you're struggling with it.
Dionshka is
Yeah.
from Puerto Rico, so needs to check if it's the same there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Puerto Rico actually has its own APEX. So look up the Maine APEX Accelerator in Puerto Rico. But yes, these certifications are the same in Puerto Rico since the U.S. territory.
Great info to have. I didn't even know that. All right. Well, does anyone
You're
else have any
welcome.
more questions? Oh, we're a little early, but I really appreciate you putting on a great presentation today, Miranda. It's really useful information that I think anyone who falls under the category can benefit from.
Awesome. So yeah, so everybody just keep an eye out for your emails, and I'll make sure that Jasper gets all the information to send along to you. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to me. I'll get you in touch with your counselor, and we'll help you through this. You don't have to do it by yourself.
Yeah, so like Miranda just said, keep an eye out for an email from me, Jasper from SCORE. I'll be sending out a copy of the slides, the discussed information, and a link to a YouTube video of the recording of today's workshop, or you can view that at your pleasure if you missed anything or just want to revisit it. We will also be including a survey in that message. We would greatly appreciate you filling out once we've sent it to you. We take your feedback seriously. And as a quick reminder, if you weren't familiar with us here at SCORE, we offer free confidential one-on-one mentoring, whether you're starting or growing or exiting your business. It's easy to request a meeting with a mentor by visiting score.org and filling out a brief online form by simply entering your zip code on the front page. And just for a quick plug for us here, SCORE Maine helped start over 560 new businesses in Maine last year alone. And across the nation, we've helped over 11 million entrepreneurs since 1964. And I want to thank Miranda one more time for a great presentation, and we really appreciate the partnership we have with you guys. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your day.
Great.
Unless there's
Thank
any
you,
more questions right
everybody.
before we wrap up here. Well, we'll also be including the contact info if anything comes up after that. In any case, I hope everyone has a great rest of your day.
Awesome. Bye-bye.
Thank you so very much. I really learned a lot.